Hey everyone, Nerd Day Mark here. It's time to go over episode 23 of Kamen Rider Gavv. I'm still sick. I'm feeling better. Like, I don't have a sore throat anymore, but I'm just like really congested and it sucks. And in the meantime, it gave me extra time to play video games and, rewatch some shows and, yeah. So, not gonna lie, this was a lore dump of an episode, and not dump in a bad way, but like they just gave us not dump, a lore drop. We got so much dropped from lore, that in lore that I'd even I had questions about, but wasn't on the forefront of I needed answers to. Like, it was just like, hey, you want to know everything that happened to Hanto's mom? Here you go. Oh, you want to know how the company actually started out a stomach ache before they started making dark treats? We got you with that too. And it's like, damn. Oh, you want Sajika to show him to finally have the talk about him being a granite? Done. It's like, damn. And then so the action was non-existent until the end of the episode. We got a couple minutes of fight leading into a basically to be continued, another part. And I'm starting to think they aren't 2-part episodes. I don't know why I say that. It's just one of those things because sometimes like they do end episodes resolved with no real lead on, but it's like almost like one big like continuation after continuation of episodes, which I'm okay with. I like that because it keeps me hyped for next week's episode. And I've seen a lot of comments this and that. I'm glad everyone consistently the consensus of all of us is this show is hitting. And it's consistently good, and we're all enjoying it. I don't really see any negativity online towards the show. And now I know our new Sentai premiered, so a lot of people are, primarily focused on that. I think that's also why this episode was a nice little lore drop episode, because hey, new Sentai starts, which I'll have a video for in another day or two. I gotta record it. I already have it planned out. But yeah, so we start the episode where the other one left off after Hanto rescued Shoma from hanging over the edge of the railing after defeating Bitter Gavv. And, we saw that flashback. And Shoma's like, hey, I know what happened to your mom. And then he explains everything. So it turns out, when Shoma was a young lad, he gets lost exploring around the stomach, I want to say super mansion / facility. And that's when he bumps into Hanto's mom, who escaped her captivity. And, she's like, how'd you get out? I can't believe they're kidnapping kids too. And he the whole time was like, kidnap? Like, what's kidnap? And we eventually get to an area where there's a bunch of people in beds, humans, and they got collars on their necks. So I assume they're basically sleeping or in some sort of comatose state, hooked up to a machine. And that's when Lango shows up, and he's like, what are you doing out, this and that. And that's when Shoma apologizes, call him brother, and she's like, you're family. And she was shocked. And then they basically dump her in a vat of green jello mix that's not solid yet. You know how when you make jello, you gotta put the powder in the bowl when it's hot water, and you gotta stir it, then you put it in the fridge. It's before you put it in the fridge, so it's still liquidy. It's still a liquid. It's not a solid, even though jello's solid, but it's jiggly. I don't like jello. I don't like the consistency of jello. I don't trust it. That's a different way. That's a different story. That's my trauma. I just don't like jello. And she dissolves. And Lango says, we need to find a better system for storing basically humans. So this is before they even started pressing humans. So that's the old school style. They would just kidnap them, hook them onto a machine that puts them kind of in a dream state. Maybe that's what makes them happy, and then they dissolve them while they're asleep. At least Hanto now knows. He was even I figured, it's been so long, she's not alive. I figured she was a dark treat. But then he pulls the, what? No, he's literally, I gotta blame you, but no offense. I want to see your face. I want to see your face right now. Get your face away. And I was always curious, like, does Hanto have friends? And he has friends. He has a friend, and they were eating some, like, what was it, like hot pot, little barbecue. It made me hungry, and his friends talking about, he has money problems, this and that. But then he's like, "Oh, you're lucky, you had that one guy who took you in." We get a flashback of the fact that, hey, we all forgot Hanto's mentor was murdered. His whole press human thing was broken in half. There's no coming back from that. I thought there was something shady about the guy working at the restaurant, especially because he was watching Hanto when he said about monsters, and then even after he paid his friend some good shillings to spill the beans on him. And I think one of the unresolved things in this episode was a trap was set for Hanto, because his friend does call him later on in the episode and says, "Hey, I'm being followed by a monster," or this and that. And Hanto at the same time bumps into our clone Shoma, and so he just kind of tells Sachika, because he doesn't want to talk to Shoma right now. So Sachika tells Shoma about it instead for Bitter Gavv. Now, when I said in the beginning, there's lore drops like crazy in this. So another lore drop we got was Shoma talking to Sachika about everything, and she thinks the Gochizos are cute. I'm inclined to agree. I mean, they're like, stuff like that. And she's like, after all, she's like, "How can I help?" And he's like, "Just do what you're doing. And I want to keep helping you make people happy." And she's like, "Okay." And she just starts taking home a bunch of sweets. And she's like, "Will these make you happy? I got sweets." She just wanted to see the Gochizo pop out of his red Gavv. Because she's like, "Can I see him pop out?" And I'm like, I did not know what to say to that when she said that, because I was like, that seems kind of personal. And then he starts eating marshmallows and nothing comes out, and he talks about like the mental block he's going through and everything else. So it's like he still can't produce Gochizos. He's still got that mental blockage. Now, I thought it was more directly tied to the fact that he was keeping the secret from Sachika and Hanto, and so I assumed he'd be good by now. But obviously that's not the case. So what do we get? We get a trip to Dente. And along the way, our Lakia is with him. And yeah, this doesn't... Now we get the lore of Stomach Inc. pre the siblings. Because we learn of... What is it? It would be Shoma's grandfather who was running the place. And it turns out Stomach Inc. in the beginning, they were just making candy, like regular just confections. They were just making like little taste and this and that. And they were a legit company. And, they were getting really popular. And I guess the granddad popped in on Dante's one day when he was doing his research. And he's like, you got a little canister like the ooze. And he's like, "Hey, look at this secret ingredient. Let's see what you can do with it." And this led to dark treats. And they were popular, and then they started increasing their addictive nature to it. And it's not, now, mind you, Lakia gets pissed at this point and grabs Dante, but then they're like, "Hey, whoa, I ain't got nothing to do with it. I left." And we also get a hint that, well, not even a hint. He says Dante comes to the human world to do research for Shoma's Red Gavv down the road. So I'm sure that'll be another lore drop we'll get at some point on how that worked. Because if you see the flashback of Shoma with Hanto's mom, he doesn't have a Red Gavv unit on his stomach or anything. So you could tell through the shirt, like it would be kind of noticeable. So I'm curious to see another lore drop for that. But then we just learned that, the grandfather, I forgot his name already, he kept, wanting more like power in the society and this and that. So they just kept, cranking up, making them more addictive over and over. And then we find out that like, hey, Dante was like, "All right, I'm good." And Nelv took over that side of things. And he just kind of dipped out and stayed in the human world. So I was like, all right, paraphrasing a lot of it, but that is basically the gist of what happened. I'm trying not to sneeze. I'm still sick. I'm gonna sneeze. So that was um, a good bit of backstory. Like I was more curious now of when we learn about how they go from just having humans being in this brainwash, like this whole bedridden state to being pressed. That'll be interesting to see. Also, the whole Shoma Red Gabu. I'm just glad we got Dente on the screen explaining some stuff. And a lot of little things. Suga still being shady. He made new chocolate gochizos for Hanto. And, he was said, what for? He's like, oh, so you don't have to keep relying on, Gabu for them. And he was like, good point. So I'm really curious next. Um, I I'm intrigued on how fast these clones are coming out. You know, like they defeated one next, and then we see a new clone Shoma flipping a car over and playing. He literally asks the driver, "Oh, you want to play?" And he flips the car and this and that. And when Shoma and Lakia confront him, they're like, "I thought I destroyed you." He's like, "Yeah, no, I never met you guys before." So basically, these clones are getting pumped out, and they're trying to figure out who his master is because he mentions his master, and he won't tell. So the fight ensues. I like how, and I don't know, I honestly don't know how exactly the clone situation is going to work until it actually gets explained, because this time Bitter Gavu was stronger, which Ram confirmed, as well as even from a fight choreograph, like scenes and this and that, he seemed more adept at fighting. He seemed more like he knew what he was doing, more in control. So I was like, are the clones that get to simmer a little bit longer, a little more cohesive, a little more solid? I mean, what's the QC on that? Like, and I do like the idea that, clones are tough if done right. Like, not tough if done, like they're tough. Like clones are messy, and sometimes, and I put clones with like time travel, where it's like that for me is like a cop out usually, where I'm like, okay, if at least not in toku, just in general, I'm talking like sci-fi, this and that. When it comes to clones and time travel, those are the top two things where I'm like, if you're not a good enough writer, it doesn't work. And it just seems like a cop out, because if you introduce clones or time travel, the second you write yourself into like a corner where you have too many plot points, is that time travel, clones. And I'm just like, I see it a lot. But at least with this show, with Kamu, right now it's not bad. I'm intrigued by it. And it's like one of those things where I'm just like, okay, so this is the second clone. Now, if they defeat this one in the next episode, because the fight just kind of ended with Bitter Gavv getting away on his little big quad, and then, Gavu Shoma chasing after him, and that's how it ended. My thing is, if they beat this one, well, is the next clone going to be stronger? And so on and so forth. How many clones are there? Like, but I like that air of mystery right now, because we've only had the clone Shoma for what, like, this is the third episode now, maybe, yeah, third episode. So it's kind of like one of those things where like it's still in the infancy of this clone arc that I'm like, so it's like, I'm curious what's going on there and how it's going to work. How many clones are there? Are there infinite clones? Like, I have a lot of questions about the clones, and I'm gonna need a really Shuga heavy episode. Hopefully it leads with Lakia or Hanto questioning him. Although eventually we're gonna have to get the situation where Suga and Shoma have a talk, because Shoma obviously doesn't know that Suga knows who he is. Or, well, he does know that he's Gabu. He doesn't know that he's a Granite. So I'm curious where that's going to go. Plus, also the fact that Lakia is the only one that knows that Suga has been working with Nyelv as well. So there's like a lot of moving parts in the Suga like sphere area around him that I'm very curious about. So it should be intriguing where that's gonna go. And I I don't want to say I'm worried about things getting dragged out because nothing's been dragged out yet. But the clone stuff and Suga, it's like, okay, I need some more progress with something involving him on the screen, not, you know, his creations. But yeah, other than that, it was a solid episode. Like I said, just a lore drop, a lot of information, a lot of backstory, world building, and I'm curious, where it's going now. Like from an action standpoint, this wasn't a very exciting episode, but it was a very good character episode, so I didn't mind it. I'm looking forward to episode 24 because I need more information now, obviously, and I want to see what happens when another bitter Gavv gets destroyed and another clone pops up. Is he going to be even stronger? But yeah, that's it. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I got some other videos coming up soon. No candy toy stuff until March, so that's kind of lame. Like, really lame. But yeah, I thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.